Thank you for tuning in to WDRB Media, the voice of the community, the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. You're listening to Divorce Your Landlord, and I'm your host, your favorite realtor, Terri Young. This show is brought to you by Z3 Carolinas Group, where they see, serve, educate, empower their clients all the way home. If you have real estate questions, contact them at 980-231-1428 or visit their website at www.z3carolinas.com. Today's landlord we're discussing is toxic relationships. A toxic relationship is one that makes you feel unsupported, misunderstood, demeaned, or attacked. On a basic level, any relationship that makes you feel worse rather than better can become toxic over time. Toxic relationships can exist in just about any context, from the playground to the boardroom to the bedroom. You may even deal with toxic relationships among your own family members. I'm quite sure there's several of us that can relate to that. A toxic relationship is very threatening to both your emotional, financial, psychological, and even physical well-being. People that deals with mental illness such as depression may be more susceptible to toxic relationships since they're already sensitive to negative emotion. However, toxic people can affect anyone. Here's what you need to know about toxic relationships, including what makes a relationship toxic and how to determine if you're in one. We also talk about different ways to manage any these types of relationships, right? Only you can tell if the bad outweighs the good in a relationship. But if someone consistently threatens your well-being by what they're saying, doing, or not doing, is likely a toxic relationship. Relationships that involve physical and verbal abuse are definitely classified as toxic. We get that. We know that. But there's other toxic relationships that can be from a financial standpoint, that could be familial toxic relationship. Pretty much, if you give more than you're getting, which makes you feel devalued or depleted, you feel consistently disrespected or that your needs aren't being met, you feel a toll on your self-esteem over time, you feel unsupported, misunderstood, demeaned, or attacked, you feel depressed, angry, or tired after speaking or being with another person. You bring out the worst in each other. You're not your best around that particular person or persons. You feel like you have to walk on eggshells around this person to keep from becoming a target of their rage and venom. You spend a lot of time and emotional strength trying to cheer them up. You're always to blame. They turn things around so you thought they had done wrong or suddenly your fault. You are in a toxic relationship. If you can relate to any of these statements I just made, you're in a toxic relationship. And it's important to recognize the signs of toxicity, whether it's in you, yes, you, or whether it's in another person. Here are some signs of toxic behavior: insecurity, jealousy, negative, self-centered, selfish, critical, demeaning, distrusting, abusive, disrespectful. Those are behaviors that are red flags that you're in a toxic relationship. It's important to note that toxic relationships are not just limited to romantic relationships, right? It can be a relationship in the workplace. It could be with a friend. It could be within an organization. It can even be within your own family. And they can be extremely stressful, especially if the toxicity isn't effectively managed. Okay? Not all toxic relationships are caused by both parties. Some people are simply just toxic to be around. They just drain and sap out all the energy with their negative behavior, their negative mindsets. They like to constantly complain, be very critical, and just very negative. Or they may even like to argue with others, constantly pick fights, point out flaws of others, explain why they're better than you, all which can weigh on you over time. Sometimes people act this way towards everyone and are unaware of their effects on others. They also may not know healthier ways to communicate. It's likely that they don't know how to read social cues well enough to understand when they're frustrating people or making them feel like they're being criticized or ignored. That happened with me where I was being the toxic person in the relationship, and my husband pointed out to me that I was just being so negative all the time, and he felt like that I was pointing out flaws, and I wasn't aware, but he made me become conscious. So now I am trying to do better and do less, be less negative, and not necessarily point out flaws to people, but maybe encourage them to improve those flaws or to build upon them. So it's just about going about it the wrong way. But just know, you can be toxic to someone and not really know or understand it. But if the person love you and comfortable enough with you and tell it to you, you at least owe them and yourself to try to correct that, right? And try not to be toxic. But, other times people are deliberately rude and hurtful. And in situations like that, you may feel singled out, targeted through their mean words or actions. And no matter what you do, you feel like you never measuring up or you good enough. In these scenarios are true for your situation, you may want to reevaluate your relationship with this person. They may be causing real damage to your self-esteem and your overall well-being. When dealing with toxic, narcissistic people, it's not always obvious whether they are aware of what they're doing. But if their behavior is constantly making you feel bad about yourself, you need to distance yourself from that person, or at least accept that you need to be on your guard if that person has to be in your life, in your space. This change in your behavior won't change them. So when you remove yourself from them, it may not change them. It may not. But it can help minimize the stress of dealing with them. The important thing that you should focus on and concentrate on is protecting yourself from that abuse, whatever it may be. Remind yourself that you're not going to change them, but what you're doing is protecting yourself by putting distance between yourself and them. Sometimes in toxic relationships, when you try to confront them, they may not take it nicely, put it. They may have more wrath, and so be careful. Understand if that person is a person that you can actually confront, or is this a person that I actually need to just distance myself. Accept that you need to be on your guard if the person has to be in your life. unfortunately, sometimes we have toxic people that are our family members, and they have to be in our life. And we have to learn how to protect ourselves, but still share space. When the toxic person is a family member or a close friend, it may also be possible to encourage that person to get into therapy, right? Which is often needed to solve the underlying issues behind the toxicity that they have. As I shared earlier, when my husband brought it to my attention that I was being toxic, I had some toxic behaviors, I realized that there was an underlying issue that was causing me to have that. And a lot of it has to do with insecurity. I was very insecure about myself. So I went to therapy and learned to address those insecurities, which ultimately helped me to avoid to be toxic to family members, my loved ones, to people, to everyone around me. While not every toxic relationship can be avoided, especially among coworkers or family members, they can be managed with healthy boundaries and self-care and awareness. If you find yourself in a toxic relationship where you bring out the worst in another person or simply fail to bring out the best, you may want to work on that relationship and try to change those dynamics. Like I said, when my husband expressed to me, and I am forever grateful that he did not have to. I chose to work on changing the dynamic. So when dealing with any type of toxic relationship, it's important to focus on your health and well-being. Consequently, if you're dealing with someone who drains you of your energy, happiness, consider removing them from your life, or at least limiting your time spent with them. And if you're experiencing emotional or physical abuse, get help immediately. So I have been known in my family to cut people off, as they say. When I know that you are toxic, you're no longer being positive and helping me be a better person, I will quickly, and when I say quickly, I will shut you completely off. I won't communicate with you. It is as if you have never existed. But at the same time, I will go into my closet, my prayer closet, and pray for you. But what I won't do is continue to allow you to be in my space and to cause me to not like myself, to be emotional wreck, to continue to endure the abuse, may it be physical, may it be emotional, may it be verbal, may it be financial. That's what I will not do. I've learned through therapy that assertive communication and setting healthy boundaries are often key to bringing out the best in one another if both parties are willing to make the change. Okay? Both parties have to be willing to make the change. It can't just be one-sided party. It has to be both parties. If both parties are willing to make the change, talk to the other person, just as my husband talked to me. He was assertive about his needs and his feelings. He took responsibility in his part, if there was any in his part. We discussed the problems we saw. We decided together if we wanted to change those problems to ensure that both of us needs were met. Sometimes you may get to the point in a relationship where that's not the case, and you need to limit the time you spend with people who bring that frustration or that unhappiness in your life. If this is someone you need to interact with, like a family member or a co-worker, you may need to limit that interaction and distance yourself. And it's okay. If you ever decide to talk to someone and really share with them how you feel, your concerns, make sure you use I feel statements when describing your feelings and your emotion. Do so to help keep them from feeling defensive, but also just remember, no one can tell you how to feel. No one can tell you that you shouldn't feel the way you feeling. You own that. And just realize that some toxic people simply are not willing to change, especially those that lack self-awareness or social skills. And be very careful when you're confronting some people. Definitely stand up for yourself when the situation warrants it. However, do not put yourself in a situation with a toxic person that you know. Confronting them about their toxicity is just really throwing gasoline on a fire. What I want you to know is love should never cost you your peace. It should never cost you your joy. It should never cost you your happiness. If there's more negative in the situation than positive, something has to change. We're in the holidays right now where, families are coming together, celebrating the holidays, and we get it. Family always comes first. Our parents, siblings, partners, even our friends hold a very special place in our lives. And during the holidays, we want to be close to them. We want to support them, and we want to, spend the holidays with them. Some support us through the dark times of our life, giving us meaning to our life. But then some just don't have that family that's supportive, right? Have that family that's just full of drama, hatred, arguments, abuse, manipulation, and even domestic violence. Having toxic family members can be emotionally draining and make you feel angry, sad, betrayal, guilty, hurt, confused. It's certain people in my family I just refuse to go around. I refuse to allow them to come into my space because it's just debilitating to me from an emotional and a physical to be around them. Just to let you know, studies have found that families' instability can negatively impact and affect our well-being. In fact, it's studies out there that shows that it affects physical, emotional, and mental health, which can lead to chronic stress and anxiety and depression. I read in an article not too long ago that children who experience early life toxic stress are at risk for long-term adverse health effects that may not manifest until adulthood. Wow, that is powerful. So, a child in a toxic environment, in a toxic relationship, is at risk of long-term adverse health effects that may not manifest until adulthood. You all. So that right there should be telling us as parents that we need to protect our children and make sure that we don't expose them to toxic relationships, because we may not see the effects from that toxic relationship until later in life. Wow, that is powerful. So today, stop wondering whether it's morally or ethically right to cut ties with a toxic family member. It's never about what is right or wrong. It's a very subjective issue, right? What matters here is what is best for you and your mental health. Some people have the way they do. Some people behave the way they do because that is who they are, right? They may have a narcissistic personality, or they may like to feel superior by putting you down. But it is not about them. It's about you. It's about you taking charge of your life. It's about refusing to accept abuse, negativity in your life. It's about creating your own happiness. And the unfortunate fact is, once you cut ties with a toxic person, unfortunately, they will find someone else to abuse and feed that ego. Even though it may create a void in your life, cutting ties will not make any significant differences in theirs, but it will make a world of difference in yours. So instead of putting up with toxicity on a daily basis, define what behavior is acceptable for you, and then start going through your relationships. And if those relationships are not meeting those standards, remove them. After the break, we will continue our discussion on this week's Landlord, aka toxic relationships. You're tuned in to WDRB Media, the voice of the community, the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. Don't go anywhere, because we'll be right back. I'm your host, Terri Young, and this is Divorce Your Landlord. Are you thinking about selling your house right now, but not sure if you should do it during the holiday? If so, consider this. Even as the holiday season approaches, there are plenty of buyers out there, and they really want your house. Here's why selling this holiday season is a win for you. Today, buyers are still dealing with limited numbers of homes for sale. Those buyers are competing with one another for their dream home. The stakes for the buyers are very high, as they're looking to lock in to prices and rates before they rise. To put things in perspective, no matter where you are, remember, you only need one good offer to close the deal. If you're on the fence about when to sell, remember, your house is a hot commodity this holiday season. You can put your house in front of motivated buyers by making your move today. Give us a call here at Z3 Carolinas. You can reach us at 980-231-1428. Bottom line, selling now gives you even more opportunity to win big as buyers compete for your home in today's market. Check out our website at www.z3carolinas.com. Welcome back to WDRB Media, the voice of the community, and those streaming live through free TuneIn Radio app and through iHeartRadio. You're listening to Divorce Your Landlord, and I'm your host, Terri Young. Tune in every Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're just tuning in, today's landlord we're discussing is toxic relationships. Before the break, we talked about toxic relationships and how they are a threat to your well-being, and that toxic relationships are just not romantic relationships, but they can be work, family relationships as well. It is time to reevaluate your relationships at work, home, church, family, and friends. Ask yourself, is this relationship hindering my well-being? If so, you must take the steps to remove yourself from that relationship. As a business owner and a realtor, I come across toxic buyers and seller clients all the time. My assertive communication and boundaries I have in place protects my well-being. So today I'm going to talk to you about my toxic clients and what it is I do. And maybe that can help you relate and how you can protect your well-being and avoid toxic relationships. So as an agent, can always spot toxic clients right away, but with little practice, the red flags become quickly apparent. So let me just tell you, these toxic clients are knows best clients. They know everything. They know everything, right? Then we have the negative client. And then we have the relentlessly demanding client. And then we just have the disrespectful clients. So the know best client, I love these clients, right? These clients believe they know it all. They distrust your expertise. They disregard your advice, and often leads to great frustration. These are the clients who believe I simply don't know how real estate works. Some great examples of no best type client is a seller who wants to set the price of their home, or the low buying buyer who think they're even getting a response on bidding on a house so far below the market value that the price itself is embarrassing. I can tell you right now, that seller ends up with a home that sits on the market, and that buyer is without a home. And they're continuing to waste not only my time, but their time submitting offers. So the reason why I say I love these clients, because these are the clients that need to be educated. And as you all know, I love educating people, right? I love sharing knowledge. And the more educated you are, the more empowered you are. So I do my best to educate. I give them stats. I include them in the process. These people who want to score a great deal or somehow work the system, they just don't know how negotiating or other areas that truly work. So I educate, but also I ask them, what is it they would like to achieve? I be honest with the seller about pricing and why it matters. I start talking to those buyers who think they can come into a market and bid below on their dream house. I show them stats that homes in this area that are priced right are pricing 5% over list price. And I then ask them, why do you think you're going to get your dream home for less than that if this is what the market is doing? I sometimes knock it out the park and I can change them, and sometimes I lose them. And I'm okay with that either way it goes. But at the end of the day, they know that they were educated, and they were educated enough that the ones that stick around, we close the deal. We get the home sold and we get the home bought. Okay. Those negative clients, those can be toxic too. It's someone that is unreasonable, pessimistic, resilient to consultation. They want a house on the beach for a price that will be a fixer-upper in a landlocked state somewhere, and complain that every listing that I show them isn't good enough. Even worse, they will likely even continue to ask for showings of different properties that I know will not result in a sale. Whether on the buy side or the sell side, these clients can be frustrating. So my standards I've set as a business owner allows me to refer them to another agent that can better serve them, because I know I can't. So yeah, those negative clients, I waste no energy. I quickly say, I'm sorry, but I don't think we're a great fit. I have some other colleagues. I would love to refer you out. I think they can better serve you. That's how I protect my peace. That's how I protect my well-being. And then you got those relentlessly demanding clients. These are the clients that have a feel to them, unlike the impossible negative people. These individuals, might perfectly reasonably have expectations, right? They're very nice people, but they're energy vampires. They will zap out all your energy if you allow them to. They expect you to be on every call, to call them, to be at their beck and call, every whim, every idea. They throw things out to you to do research on things that simply just because they're curious. There's no, rhyme or reason, but they just want to throw it out. They have expectations that you're going to immediately answer any and all questions, no matter if it's relevant or not to their current situation. They can be exhausting. How I deal with these clients is I shut them down soon as I meet them, because in my initial client consultation, I ask every client, how can I win and how can I lose with you as a realtor? After they answer those two questions, I then follow up and say, here are my standards as a business owner. As your realtor, these are my standards. And if you don't like these standards, you cannot support these standards, you're not in line with these standards, I can't be your agent. And people are usually pretty surprised with that, but I think at the same time, they're also very appreciative of how upfront I am. We have to communicate and let people know what our standards are. What is it that we're willing to take and deal with, and what is it that we're not? And it's your job to protect your well-being. And let me just tell you all, when you have disrespectful clients, these are the worst toxic clients. Sure, it's okay for clients that have valid frustration, become emotion, because the whole real estate process is an emotional roller coaster, right? So I get that. But it's not even about the process or their disappointment. It's usually a personal attack on an individual. They're inappropriate. They're just downright verbally abusive. They're venting anger in inappropriate ways, but they still want to use you. They still want you to service them. Ultimately, these people do not respect you as a person, as a professional, but they see you more as a servant. They look down on you. They're demanding of you. They treat you in ways that you never put up with in any other circumstance. Avoid these people. When you see these type of people, you run. During my initial consultation, if I see that the client is speaking disrespectfully, in any way, they're demeaning or offensive, I literally walk away, cut ties, and refer them to another agent, or just pretty much say, I'm sorry, I cannot help you. Thanks to my standards I've set, allows me to do this and have peace about it. Once you have a toxic client, you can go a couple of ways. Are they abusive? If they are, ditch them immediately. There is never a reason to put up with verbal abuse, physical abuse, any type of abuse just to make a few bucks. If they're just difficult or demanding, that's when I go into my educate mode. You have to educate them. Educating clients can be hard and difficult at times, but unless you want to suffer, you got to educate. It requires sometimes drawing firm boundaries, holding them to them, keeping their expectations in check, really showing them how you do business. There's a pretty well-known phrase, right? Teach people how to treat you by what we put up with and what we tolerate both in our personal and professional lives. So remember, set those standards. And if you don't have standards, if you're a business owner or a non-business owner, You need to write your standards down. What is it that you are willing to put up with, and what are you willing to tolerate, both personally and professionally? And then be ready to articulate that to anyone. May it be a client, may it be a relative, may it be a co-worker, colleague. Articulate that. Have confidence to know the value of what you offer, advocating for yourself, and politely begin the process from the very beginning when you are meeting with your clients to give them a clear direction on how you operate and what they can expect, but most of all, what your standards are. This is how you can avoid having toxic relationships, having toxic clients. You, as a buyer or a seller client, need to make sure you avoid toxic relationships with agents as well. And I'm going to talk to you about some different ways you can avoid a toxic relationship with an agent during your real estate process. First of all, interview as many agents as you can. Interview. I cannot express this. Interview. Get to know that agent. Talk to that agent. But you need to find an agent that communicates well and regularly with their clients. As a seller or a buyer, it can be very stressful when the agent is not a great communicator. This real estate market is crazy, as you all know, and it's time sensitive. Things move very fast. So you need an agent who's constantly keeping you in the loop about your current buying or selling situation. As a realtor, I always ask my clients in the initial consultation, what is your preferred method of communication? What are your expectations? Okay, these are the standards that I provide when it comes to communication. I always talk to my clients on a weekly basis. If it's nothing, to give them a market update, to touch base, to see how they're doing, to see if their situation has changed. Once you go under contract, my team is constantly updating you and in communication with you, because as you go through the different phases, we're reaching out to update you, to congratulate you. I mean, communication is key. All right. Also, when you're interviewing your agents, you need to find an agent that's proactive with the sales process. I call other agents. When I say proactive, I mean not waiting for that house to come out on the MLS, but I call other agents. I call past clients, potential buyers for my seller, and potential sellers for my buyers. I go out there looking for my client's home or my client's next buyer if they're selling. I don't just sit and wait for something to hit the market. So you need to make sure you find someone that's proactive in the whole real estate process. No matter if you're a seller or a buyer, that agent should be able to communicate and tell you how they would go out and find either that buyer or that home for you. Make sure that agent is an agent that listens. I seek to understand my client's needs versus and their wants. I listen. When I speak to my clients, it's all about them. I want them to tell me who they are, what it is they're looking for. They're doing most of the talking. I want to find out from them, what is it that you're trying to achieve? And what is important? What are your motivating factors for this real estate transaction? Another thing, you need an agent that is client motivated. Always have their client needs as their top priority. No matter if you buying or selling a house, it can be stressful, but it's important for that agent to make sure that the client is feeling supported and happy. I tell my clients all the time, because I had this happen to me when I bought my first home. I was pre-approved for $300,000, but I knew that I did not want a monthly payment for a $300,000 home. I knew what I was comfortable with. My agent, on the other hand, was looking at commission and not looking or listening to me when I said, I need to find a home that me and my daughter can live in. And yes, I have a great job now, but I don't know what tomorrow will be. So I need to make sure that whatever home I buy, that I can stay in that home should I need to go to McDonald's, Walmart, Target, whatever. Wherever I needed to find a job, I needed to make sure that I can still keep that home. And you all, I found my own house because she kept sending me homes that was $300,000, and I'm like, I'm not doing $300,000. I found, and she wasn't happy, but at the end of the day, I found a home and I paid $100,000 for my home. My mortgage payment was $600, and that's what I was okay with. I was not trying to go over that, and she wasn't hearing me, but I made her quickly realize that if you want this deal, this is the deal that we're going to do. So I always, because I know how I felt when I was going through that, I always make sure I listen to my clients and understand and seek to understand their needs and their wants. Not only do they need to be client motivated, they need to know the local area. Real estate agents are selling more than just a home. We don't just sell the home, we sell the communities, right? Selling the life that comes with it, which requires a deep understanding of the local areas. So make sure the agent is very knowledgeable of the local area, because if you have certain needs or certain desires or wants, you need to make sure that they're giving you that information and have that information to help you identify that home. Make sure they aren't afraid to give you, a list of references. I post up and I ask my clients after every transaction, after every deal, if they will go out to Google, to Facebook, to all the different platforms and give me an honest feedback review. And I do that, one, so other people can see the type of service that I provide to my clients. Two, I do it so I can then see that we meeting all our clients' needs. We haven't dropped the ball, things of that nature. So an agent, if you lined up a couple new agents and you want to make sure that they're the best fit for you, ask them for testimonials, statements, reviews, anything like that. You need to be able to understand that they're a good agent and they should be able to give you a positive reference from any of their past clients. So that is it today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in to WDRB Media, the voice of the community, the only station that's giving you double the information and inspiration. This has been a wonderful episode about landlord toxic relationships. I'm your host, Terri Young. You're listening to Divorce Your Landlord. You can tune in every Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And thank you for joining us today. Also want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Z3 Carolinas Group. If you are interested in buying or selling real estate, feel free to reach out to them at 980-231-1428, or you can visit their website at www.z3carolinas.com. And for those that have been joining me, thank you for joining me. Please reach out to me. Give me some feedback. Let me know your thoughts, your ideas. Until next week, continue to be blessed, and thank you for tuning in. Are you thinking about selling your house right now, but not sure if you should do it during the holiday? If so, consider this. Even as the holiday season approaches, there are plenty of buyers out there, and they really want your house. Here's why selling this holiday season is a win for you. Today, buyers are still dealing with limited numbers of homes for sale. Those buyers are competing with one another for their dream home. The stakes for the buyers are very high as they're looking to lock in to prices and rates before they rise. To put things in perspective, no matter where you are, remember, you only need one good offer to close the deal. If you're on the fence about when to sell, remember, your house is a hot commodity this holiday season. You can put your house in front of motivated buyers by making your move today. Give us a call here at Z3 Carolinas. You can reach us at 980-231-1428. Bottom line, selling now gives you even more opportunity to win big as buyers compete for your home in today's market. Check out our website at www.z3carolinas.com.